Hi there guys, I'm out at the range today and I've got a bit of a mystery 22 to show you, and I'm looking for any information or light you could shed on this if you happen to know what it is. It doesn't belong to me, it belongs to a buddy of mine. He was kind enough to provide it for this video, and he's also trying to figure out exactly what it is. From some investigation, it looks a lot like a Walther Model 1, however it is not marked as such. Walthers are usually well marked, and this one is not. You see it's got an interesting full-length Mannlicher style of stock, and this is a 22 combination bolt action and semi-auto type firearm with the detachable box mag. There's the magazine. It's 5 shots, and we have an interesting action which is basically identical to a Walther Model 1, although the bolt handle is a bit different. So we've got this bolt handle, and the bolt can be locked in the downward position to be used as a repeater or a single shot if you don't want to use the magazine. You can also lock the bolt rearward for loading, unloading, range use. And with the bolt in the upward position, the action will spring back and forth, blow back and forth, and work as a semi-auto. So it's a nice looking firearm. Got this panel of checkering on one side, but unusually there is no checkering on the other side. So we've got a cheek piece. The butt plate is very sort of Austrian, Germanic looking sort of thing. So our pistol grip, like I mentioned, checkering on one side, not on the other. Got a rounded bottom. The only markings on this are that serial number on the trigger guard and what appear to be some proofs right there. There is no marking on the top where a Walther would be marked Walther. We've got a sliding tang safety here on the rear, and an express style sight with 3 different leaf settings. So kind of a snazzy looking rifle. Got an inlaid contrasting tip on the end of the stock and a standard type sporting front sight. Anyway, I guess that's about all we can show you. It's also interesting is this section of raised wood here, which is just for some style, I guess. And we've got trigger guard and 2 screws on the bottom that hold the action in place. So kind of a nice looking gun. I'm going to load it up and fire a few shots just to show you how it works. But information is a little bit scarce on these. Like I said, the best that I can come up with is a Walther Model 1 as far as a matching firearm that would be the same as this. There are the Beretta copies from the 1950s, but they are quite a bit different. Anyway, let's load this thing up and fire it. In the way of ammo, we're going to be using some CCI standard velocity 40 grain round nose. I wouldn't recommend shooting high velocity in a rifle like this because when these were produced, which I'm assuming is in the 1930s, you wouldn't have had high velocity ammo in Europe, I don't think. I think it was basically standard velocity was the only thing you could get. So basically try to stay away from using high velocity if you're going to shoot this in the semi-auto mode. If you're going to shoot it as a bolt action, I don't think that would matter too much. Anyway, like I said, there's our mag, and it is 5 round capacity. So this rifle does have one little issue. The extractor does not have enough tension because there is a small part missing which pushes on the extractor. There's a recoil spring with a guide, and at the front of it there's supposed to be, or at least it appears, there's supposed to be a little tab that pushes on the extractor, and that is missing. So our extraction is not a problem when we're shooting it semi-auto, but when we're shooting it as a bolt action, it's a little bit problematic. So, as I mentioned, the bolt will lock either in the closed or the open position. Makes it kind of handy when you got a loaded mag. Insert the mag, lift the bolt handle up, let it go ahead, and we're going to leave it in the upward position. I'll show you it firing semi-auto. Safety's off. There's the safety, slides back and forth. So let's fire a few shots. So you can see how it operates as a semi-auto blowback. So let's use it now as a manual or bolt action type firearm. We'll push the bolt handle down so that it's locked into the receiver. So with the bolt locked down, the action doesn't cycle. Lift up the bolt handle and pull back. Now this is where I mentioned that the extractor is not good on this. It's not pulling the empty out, which is not a problem when you're using it as a blowback, but anyway, when you're using it as a manual repeater, that is an issue. But it's easy enough to flick the cartridge cases out. It's also a pretty handy rifle to use as a single shot because you have the entire top of the action open, so it's easy to put a cartridge in and you can shoot it that way. Either as a bolt action, or if you want to, you can just drop single cartridges in and let them eject. So this is sort of handy if you got a new shooter, if you want to just familiarize somebody with a rifle that hasn't used one before. It's quite easy to use it as a single shot till they get familiar with the gun, and then once they're more familiar, you can either use it as a bolt action or a semi-auto. So it comes apart pretty easy. We'll take the mag out. There's the mag out. Chamber's clear, of course. So we've got the bolt locked to the back here. So pull the bolt back, lock it down. There's a button here at the back. See that button? Push the button in and then lift. And the entire, I should call it almost like an upper receiver, comes right out of the gun. And you can take the bolt out by keeping the bolt under control, flicking the bolt handle up, and take that completely out. It's a big heavy machined part. And then we've got our bolt, our return spring, guide rod, firing pin, and there's a collar. Basically this bolt is two pieces, and hard to show you there, but you can see how it, let's see if we're in frame there. See how the bolt handle moves up and down independently on this rotating portion, and that's what locks into, let's see if we get them in frame there. These notches is what the bolt locks into. And inside we've got a hammer fired system. You can see the hammer there, and there's our ejector. In front of the chamber we've got a nice feed ramp, and then moving back, we've got our sights that have fixed leaf and two folding leaves for, they seem to be for like 25, 50, and 100 meters, I would guess, with standard velocity. So anyway, it's a well-made little unit. Looks like it would have been fairly expensive at the time. Goes back together pretty much the same way that it came apart. To line up the guide ribs there on the bolt with the notch in the receiver, or this upper receiver, and make sure that our firing pin and everything is in the right, or return spring is in the right spot. We can lock that back. And with everything locked back, you can see there's a couple of notches here at the front of this part, and there's a pin that goes through the front of the action there, so we just hook this underneath. We get it hooked under, push the button at the back, drop the action in, and then make sure everything works, and off we go. Anyway, that's a quick look at this. So if anybody can shed any light on what exact brand, model, etc., any further information would be appreciated. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.